What's going on, Falcon fans? This is your boy Ricardo coming back at you with another video. So, guys, yesterday I gave you my ideal off season of what I think the Atlanta Falcons should be doing this off season. Today, we're going to talk about some potential roster moves that they can make to help them get to some of them ideas that I talked about yesterday. Keep in mind, guys, tomorrow, make sure you tune in to hear our new GM talk. Him and the president of football, Matt Ryan, hear what he has to say. We'll definitely dig into his comments tomorrow. He's in the building. Hopefully, like I said, they already at work talking about some of these things that needs to get done this off season to make this Atlanta Falcon team the way we want it to make. So, hey, I'm excited about it. So let's get into it, guys. We're going to talk about some of the things that Atlanta Falcons could do. We're going to do a little math today. So for you guys that um looking at it, we're going to do some math and kind of get an idea of potentially how much money the Atlanta Falcons could have, and then bringing back some of those things I talked about yesterday of signing some of these guys to even make it better for this team moving forward. So, with that being said, if you have not already, go ahead and please subscribe to the channel. Please hit that notification bell so you know I drop another video. Please hit the like button so I know you guys like to hear to talk about. Then please share my video throughout the YouTube universe so more people can come hear me talk about. That's right, these Atlanta Falcons. So, guys, um, as you are aware today that the NFL, or sometimes I don't know if it was today, but they gave the teams the projected salary cap for 2026, and it went up about $20 million. It went up $100 million since 2022. So, when we talk about the business of NFL, it's booming, right? You got all these different streaming services, and then you got the merchandise sales, you got the stadiums making money, and you got the gambling services because believe it or not, the NFL is a partner with those guys as well. So all that money that's being trickling to the NFL, and NFL put a game on Monday night, put it on Thursday night, put it on Friday, even Saturday nights. Um, so they just saturated this market to the point where they're making so much money to where the owners at the end of the year receive like what $400 million. So they're making a lot of money. So when you look at the projected new salary cap for this team, this is what you see. This is some of the things you see. So the first thing we're going to talk about today is the new projected cap, right? The new projected cap for the NFL is going to be about 301.2 million to 305.7 million. So around that figure, where the cap's going to be. Like I said, that's $100 million more than what it was in 2022, and $20 million from where it was last year. So that's where when we're looking at the projected new cap. Once the new league year starts, this is where you're going to see teams where they'll be able to have um, all their cap space. So now when you're looking at cap spaces and you're looking at teams like the Tennessee Titans is like 90 some million, their cap's going to go up even more. They're going to have over $100 million in cap space. The Jets, the Raiders, all those teams. So this is where we talk about the parity in the league because now these teams can go out and spend money, on their free agents and new free agents that come in. And some of these guys got probably going to get paid a lot of money. Just be honest with you. So that's the way it is. That's where the cap is going to be looking. So, Atlanta Falcons going to benefit from this as well. We're going to talk about that today. Like I said, we're going to do some math. So stick with me, and I'll let you guys know what I'm talking about. So, the current cap right now. So just to give you an idea, the current cap that's projected right now that's showing for 2026 is 279,453,693. So that's the current cap right now. If you look out on over the cap, you look at Sport Track, you look at all those different outlets out there. This is the current cap right here. It's projected to go over 300 million. right? But right now, currently, this is the current cap for this to Atlanta for the league, not just for Atlanta Falcons, for the league. So this is the current cap for the league, right? 279,453,693. Um, when you're looking at the team cap space, so we're talking about our team cap space right now, right? So the Atlanta Falcons team cap space right now is currently 27,999,824. So that's the current cap space that the Atlanta Falcons have now, right? That's the current cap, right? So Atlanta Falcons already can make some moves with that cap space. If you're looking at what they're able to do, they can go out and make moves right now with 27 millions. They can't do a lot, but they'll be able to do some moves with that money. If you're looking at some of the older the late earlier years, with Terry Fontenot just getting there trying to fix the cap, right? They were struggling with cap space, but now they're not, right? So you're looking at the team cap space. It's at 27 million. This is current, right? We just talked about it's supposed to go up to 300, go up by 20 million. So we're gonna calculate all that in just a minute. But now when you're looking at what the Atlanta Falcons currently have, this is where there's going to be sent at that $27 million, 999,824. So that's the current cap space for the Atlanta Falcons right now. They're sitting at like 13th in the league, 15th, 13th in the league right now. So they're right in the middle of having one of the most cap space in the league, right? Right. So when we talk about that, it was reported that Atlanta Falcons was looking to restructure some current guys on this team, right? So you look at that 27 millions, and then when they restructure some guys, right, they're going to add more to the cap space, right? So we're going to talk about some of the they can actually go ahead and restructure. Um, where we at how you doing? What's going on, 330? So when we talking about being able to restructure guys, right? It's three guys that Atlanta Falcons are talking about restructuring right now. When you restructuring, you want to make sure you structure some guys that you probably, get an extension later on down the road. Because remember, when you restructure, you're taking that year's contract and making it a bonus, right? And then you're adding the rest of the contract onto the back end, right? Pretty much what they did to Kirk Cousins. We're going to talk about him in just a minute, but that's what you do. But when you do that, you're probably thinking we're going to keep these guys and probably give them extension later on down the road. So in the later years, that cap number won't be as big because all you're doing is moving that cap to later years, right? You giving them a signing bonus per se in that year, and they make like $1 to $2 million, right? Because you paid them up front, but that money does not go away. All you're doing is just moving it to the back half of their contract. Like I said, usually you want to do that to some of the guys that you think is going to be here long term, right? So you don't want to go out and sign somebody that you're not 100% sure about, and because you're going to hurt yourself because you end up cutting them, and then that big cap number that you have for them is going to hurt you in the long run. So this is where the guys that they target for restructures is really important. And right now there is three guys that the Atlanta Falcons have talked about restructuring. We don't know if they're going to 100% do all these guys, but if they do one or two, we'll see what they do. But for today's show, we're going to talk about all three. And if they do restructure all guys, how much cap space they can add to the team to help them build out this roster the way they want to build it. So, right, when we talking about, so we're going to start with Kirk Cousins, right? We already know Kirk Cousins restructured his contract. We already know that he restructured his contract. That's not news to anybody. And if you cut him post June 1, you're going to have $2.1 million. So that's the savings you're going to get on that. And then you'll be able to spread those last two that $35 million as a cap hold over 2 seasons. So you'll be able to spread it over 2026 and 2027. So it won't hurt you on the dead cap. That's why you wait to post June 1 cut. Now, if you cut him before post, designate him as a pre-June 1 cut, all that dead cap will come to Atlanta Falcons this year. Then you have to worry about next year. But the way you do it to keep the dead cap down, you designate him post June 1, and then you spread it over the next 2 seasons. So that's probably what the Atlanta Falcons going to end up doing. But in that sense, you're going to get $2.1 million in savings. So you can add that to that 27 million, right? So that's some cap space. Is not a lot, right? The whole lot of deal is idea of this was to get some cap space because he gave us so much cap space back when he restructured earlier. So that's why the Atlanta Falcons currently have that 27 million because Kirk Cousins had already restructured his contract, but they're going to get some more savings when they cut him, and they'll be able to gain another 2 million from that. All right, the next guy that been talked about the restructuring for the Atlanta Falcons will be Mr. Jake Matthews. Now, the Atlanta Falcons gave Jake Matthews a 2-year extension. I think was a year before last or last year. I'm not 100% sure, but Jake Matthews had restructured Atlanta Falcons a lot of times, so this is not something new. Only thing about Jake Matthews, he is getting longer up in the tooth, so you don't know how many more years he got. So he could be somebody that they might not want to restructure because how long is Jake Matthews going to be at left tackle? Now, if he's got those family genes, he could play for another 2 or 3 years, right? But at the same time, this is a guy that you think you can trust because he's Mr. Reliable, has never missed a game, right? Jake Matthews is Iron Man for real for the Atlanta Falcons. So this is a guy that you consider that you might be able to trust. So this is somebody you definitely would consider restructuring his contract. And if you do that, you'll get $9.8 million back. So you're going to add that $9.8 million to that 2.1 from Kirk Cousins and that 27 million that you already had. So that's 9.8 million coming back to the fold for the Atlanta Falcons. So that's nice, right? You're looking at that, you're like, wow, right? So you're adding that in to the fold as well. So that's really, really good. All right, next guy, I think this is a no-brainer to restructure his contract will be Chris Lindstrom. So you're going to go ahead and you're going to restructure Chris Lindstrom contract. All right, you'll save $11 million, restructure his, give him the bonus, move him out in outer years because this is a guy 4-time All-Pro, Pro Bowler. This is a guy is going to be here. So this is, like I said, a no-brainer. This is somebody you definitely could consider restructuring, and you shouldn't have any gripes and moans about it at all, right? That's one of the guys 100% that I think the Atlanta Falcons will consider doing. If they don't do Jake Matthews, I do consider them probably going ahead and making a deal to do Chris Lindstrom, right? Chris Lindstrom. So there's another guy that they can actually get some more money from here, right? That's the $11 million. Add that to that 27 million. You add that to that 2.1 from Kurt. You add that to the 9.8 from Jake Matthews, and that. So that you're cooking with grease now, guys. Adding money to more value. The last guy that Atlanta Falcons talk about restructuring is AJ Terrell. We know AJ Terrell just got his contract a couple of years ago. So this is another guy you can restructure. AJ Terrell still in his prime. Probably maybe can get another contract from the Atlanta Falcons. So this is a guy that you think you can get more out of. $10.3 million in savings if you restructure AJ Terrell. Now, with all these options, Atlanta Falcons don't have to restructure all these guys. But if they decide to, this is how you get money. This is how you can fill some of those holes that you're looking at, right? And one of the things we want to do, because when we talk about this, is how you keep some of your own free agents. That's the key as well. So you'll be able to get that $10 million. You recruit that back, and now you're sitting pretty. One more guy they talked about restructuring. I did not add him to the list. Jesse Bates. He got one more year in his contract, but definitely if you was to do Jesse Bates contract as well, Jesse Bates bring you back 9.5 million. So you can add 9.5 million to that as well. So that'll be four guys. I only talked about three. I talked about Jake Matthews, Chris Lindstrom, AJ Terrell. They can definitely do another one, fourth one. Jesse Bates, that's the other guy that was mentioned that they was talking about actually restructuring. So you look at all four of those guys, right? Along with what Kirk Cousins already did, um, that's a lot of savings, right? So for the three guys that I did mention, right, and we're doing math, right, doing math. For the three guys that I did mention, right, once the restructures are complete, and like I said, you include that in 2.1 million for Kirk Cousins. If you cut him, the Atlanta Falcons will be sitting at $82 million for his team cap space. $82 million for a team cap space. Now, when the Atlanta Falcons start to look at the roster and start to do a rebuild, they have a lot of room to be able to get things done, right? So this is where when teams be hurting, so you look at teams that's in the red, because there are teams in the red right now that's over the cap. This is how they would get under the cap, right? That $20 million is definitely going to help them. That increase that every team is going to receive from, you know, from the cap going up, it's going to help everybody. But for the Atlanta Falcons, it's just icing on the cake to get that extra cap space. But after the restructures, the Atlanta Falcons will definitely be able to have about 82 million. Now, if you add Jesse Bates into this, right, that 9.5, that put Atlanta Falcons over $90 million in cap space, right? Now, the question is, do you want to restructure that many contracts? Do you need to, right? This gives them the flexibility to do that. They don't have to go all out and restructure all four of those guys. They don't have to. They can only do two or three, right? They don't have to restructure everybody, but this just gives them leeway. Like I said, these are the guys that you know is going to be with the team. You go ahead and restructure those guys, and you lower your cap hit for 2026, right? And then later on down the road, Jesse Bates, let's say if you do a Jesse Bates, you get him in a deal, you lower his cap for the other years that you move that money to the back end. So that's how you would do it. But right now we're talking about the three guys that I mentioned, and it's at $82 million, guys. That's a really really good cap. That's amazing. If the Atlanta Falcons decide to do that, what's going on, T Terry? So that's where if the Atlanta Falcons go ahead and restructure the team, plus having the added cap space, man. And this right here, guys, this is before this is with I said before, this is with the actual the 20 million added in. So let me make sure I let you guys understand that this is not before the 20 million. This is with the 20 million added in. So to that $301 million, right? So before that, they would have had 49, right? So they'll be sitting at 49. But if you add in the revenue, and I went on the high end. So when I talked about the projected, right, the projected cap is going to be 3.301 to 305. So I went at 305, right? I went on the high end. If it's 301, it'll be a little bit lower. If it's 305, that's the high end where to be. Like I said, the Falcons be sitting at about $82 million in cap space, and that if they do restructure for those three guys that I talked about, including the cut that they'll cut Kirk Cousins as well. So honestly, guys, I don't have a problem with that at all. I like that. Um, I like where the Falcons are going with that. So if they decide to restructure Chris Lindstrom, Jake Matthews, AJ Terrell, and give them those figures. Like I said, we're doing math around here. Um, But just trying to get you an idea of their mindset of what the Falcons could be thinking, right? Numbers could be off a little bit, right? Because I'm not a cap wizard here. So, but at the same time, it's around the ballpark of what we're trying to do for the Atlanta Falcons. So if the Atlanta Falcons can get that 82 million um, that I talked about, right? After the restructure is by 82 million bucks. Right. This is included with the new projected cap that's going over 300 million. So that's nice, right? And I can't remember when the last time Atlanta Falcons had that much cap space with a new regime, right? And I just go look and see what the New England Patriots did last year. New England Patriots had over $100 million, right? New England Patriots won 4 games the previous year. They had over $100 million. They added in free agents, and now they're in the Super Bowl. So filling the holes, filling the gaps that you need for this team, because we all agree that this team is not far away from making a postseason run, right? But they just need to fill in the gaps and the holes of where they see them, and by restructuring guys that you know going to be on this team, right? You want you know to manage the cap. I'm not saying that you got to be able to manage cap, but if they do it this way, it'll really, really help the Atlanta Falcons build a team they want to build for 2026. Because honestly, Kevin Stefanski, he don't have the luxury of playing it slow and doing rebuilds and things like that. He need to take this team that's a fringe team and get into the playoffs. That's what they need to do. So whatever they need to do that, and I don't think this is a risk if they do it this way, right? I always believe when you have a quarterback on the roster that you're not paying quarterback money, this is the time you build your team and take chances like this. And then I think that's what Atlanta Falcons should do, right? I mean, the more you put around your quarterback, the less you ask for him to do as well. So, right, you put a really solid team around your young quarterback, um, i.e., what the Seattle Seahawks did when they had Russell Wilson back in the day. Didn't ask a lot from him. Right, you go look at Ben Roethlisberger when he first got in the league. The Pittsburgh Steelers had a really solid, good defense, good running game. They didn't ask a lot from him. Went to the Super Bowl. I'm just looking at some of the ways that what the New England Patriots had Drake May to do this year. Didn't ask a lot for him, even though he was an MVP candidate throughout the year. But they didn't ask a lot for him. They played really solid, good defense, run the ball, right, and they're in the Super Bowl. So these are some of the just looking at it, and this, when teams put their blueprint out there, how to build teams and stuff like that, you got to take notes, man, and try to do it your way. Of course, your team is different. You got different talent on your team. You know, this is a talented team, but being able to add pieces to it, in my opinion, would really help these Atlanta Falcons team. So that's what I'm thinking about when I say the Atlanta Falcons should um, consider restructuring some of these guys, right? With that new cap, projections going over 300 million, with already having 27 million, you're adding, to this team tremendous, you know, upside for this team if they're able to do that. Now they don't have to do that if you decide to you just want to have like 50 million, right? They could do that, right? Because if you add that 20 million to that 27 million, um, that they're already gonna have, that's about 49-50 million dollars right there. So they decide not to do any structures, they still have about 49 to 50 million dollars of cap space to their disposal. So they still have opportunity to make moves. But if you want to go all in and go get some of these free agents, right, to make your team even that much better, I think they should do it. Remember, the Atlanta Falcons got to pay some of their own free agents, right? And then you want to go out and actually get some more as well. So that's why I think the Atlanta Falcons should be doing that. Drew Dodd said, you have the best running back in the game, what the team needs. Okay. So I'm glad you talked about that, because that takes me to my next point, what I want to say. So, right. So first of all, if you watched my video yesterday, I talked about go ahead and re-sign your young offensive talent, right? That's what Atlanta Falcons need to do, 100%, right? And one guy in particular that they need to re-sign is Drake London, right? They need to go ahead and pin Drake London to a new contract, right? He's going into his fifth year this season. If you look at Drake London market value right now, it's sitting at 32.7 million, right? And they're basically what they look at the last four receivers that got paid, right? Not looking at guys like Chase, Jamar Chase, and Justin Jefferson, but you're looking at guys like Garrett Wilson, DK Metcalf, AJ Brown, and Amon St. Brown, right? Amon St. Brown. You're looking at those four guys, right? The last guy to get his money was Garrett Wilson, sitting at 32.5 a year, right? That's what he was sitting at for his contract, right? Drake London, his market value is 32.7, so he's going a little bit more than what Garrett Wilson got around that number, right? That's the way you're going in. That's going to be his market value. Now he could ask for more, but right now, looking at the market where they're looking at it, right? That's what they're looking at for Drake London, about $32.7 million, right? Looking at Garrett Wilson contract, he got a $13 million signing bonus. He got $40 million guaranteed at the signing, and the total guarantee is 90 million, right? So out of his contract, his $130 million contract for 4 years. That's was Garrett Wilson contract. So when you're looking at Drake London, his market value right now is about $32.7 million. That's the going rate for receivers. Just it is what it is for a number one receiver on the NFL team. 32.7, right? But if they do that to Drake London this year, this would also help you with your cap, right? Because right now Drake London's sitting at about $16 million towards the cap. If you re-sign Drake London, you can drop that about $9 million, give or take, right? Like I said, I'm not 100% on the numbers, but it's going to be about that much. You can get Drake London for about 5 million this year on the cap, right? Instead of that 16 million. So that would also help raise the cap for this team. So, but you'll have the money. Like I said, you do the restructures, then you go ahead and sign Drake. That 32.7, that's the going rate for receivers. It is what it is. But they can actually go ahead and sign him. Like I said, Garrett Wilson is comp right now. The last guy to get a contract was sitting at 130 million for 4 years. That's what Drake London probably get 131, right? Just to make it work for him, right? Because he got paid more than Garrett Wilson. I'm not talking about Jamar Chase. I'm not talking about CeeDee Lamb. I'm not talking about Justin Jefferson, right? Those guys got like 35. I think Jamar Chase got like 40, right? That's not the market value. Those guys got over the market value, right? I mean, Jamar Chase got a triple crown. So he's going to be an outlier. Now, receivers not quite like quarterbacks. Usually quarterbacks, the next guy gets more. But you look at guys like Sam Darnold, he didn't reset the market when he got his contract. I'm not saying Drake London is equivalent to that. I think Drake London is a pretty good receiver, but I think 32.7 is really good for him. I think that's a real good value. Like I said, he'll be getting paid more than Garrett Wilson. You know, that's what you want. I think that's a really good deal. Don't know who his agent is, but man, I didn't think that's a solid deal for Drake London. But that's one of the things they do. Once they do that, like I said, that adds more space to the cap, right? And maybe you don't have to do restructures if you just go ahead and re-sign Drake London. Because like I said, you'll take that $16 million cap hit and drop it down to like 5 for this year. They could do that. That's one of the things they could do, right? So that's the first thing that the Atlanta Falcons should do. We talked about it yesterday. Re-signing your offensive talent on your team, Drake London, should be the first priority. I know a lot of people think Bijan should, but Bijan got 2 more years. So Drake London should be first. Drake London is going into his final season, his 5th year option. I think the Atlanta Falcons should go ahead and pounce on it. early and get him off the book so they don't have to worry about, getting Drake London into the mix. T. Terry said Ian Cunningham looked the part of a great GM. He grew around sports. His dad was a powerful sports agent. One of his clients was Mike MJ. Yes, Mr. Jordan. Okay. Okay, see, I like that. I like that. I mean, Ian Cunningham, man, I don't know if you guys seen the video. He's ready to roll. Can't wait to hear from him tomorrow. 1100. I mean, yeah, 1100 tomorrow morning. So it's gonna be exciting to see what Ian Cunningham got to say. And like I said, I'm pretty sure they having some of these conversations. Um, the cap is not that bad for the Atlanta Falcons, and I think they keep. If they want to be good, man, they need to make some right decisions here. You got a new regime come in. If you want to stop playing it safe and make some moves, man. I don't think signing Drake London, one of your cornerstones on your offensive side of the ball, Chris Lindstrom restructuring one of the other guys, AJ Terrell, who's been here, still in his prime. I don't think making those moves will hurt this team. So they need to go ahead and make these decisions. T. Terry says Drake London will want his college teammate, his best friend, St. Brown. St. Brown is getting. So around St. Brown, so we look at him, and his last contract was at 30. So like I said, so he averaging 30 a year, and Garrett Wilson is averaging 32. So like I said, the market value went up. That's why it's at 32.7 for Drake London. So that's what it is. The average country, the value for Amar St. Brown was 120 million. Garrett Wilson was 130 million. DK Metcalf at 132 million, and AJ Brown at 96 million. So that was the four comps that they put down for Drake London, and I'm cool with that. For me, I like the idea of bringing Drake London. I think that number is fine. If you look at Drake, yes, he has not, had the 1,000-yard seasons, but he's been consistent with any quarterback you put out there. Definitely would have had over 1,000 again this year if he wouldn't have went down and got injured, but he was still right there. And I think the chemistry that he had with Michael Penix Jr. was outstanding. Definitely would have had over 1,000 yards. Michael Penix probably would have stayed, when he got injured. So Drake London definitely probably has earned his market value, but we'll see if the Atlanta Falcons feel the same way. And that's where we're at with that. Next, keeping to a trend or signing your talent. Once you get Drake London out the way, this is definitely a no-brainer. You go ahead and get Bijan Robinson out the way as well. So Bijan Robinson market value is sitting at 18.9. Now, it's 18.9 right now. However, Saquon Barkley signed a 2-year deal where he's sitting at 20 million, right? So Bijan probably is going to be the highest paid running back in the league, right? That's probably where Bijan ended up being. But the comp they did for Bijan Robinson, the four guys, they got Saquon Barkley, James Cook, Christian McCaffrey, and Jonathan Taylor. Now, the interesting thing is Christian McCaffrey sitting at 19 million and Saquon Barkley sitting at 20 million. The other two guys are still, because you know how they undervalue running backs. They just do, right? So James Cook average salary is sitting at 11.5, and Jonathan Taylor sitting at 14 million. So Bijan, market value is 18.9 based off Christian McCaffrey and Saquon Barkley. And I agree. I think those are definitely his comps. So if you look at what we're looking at for Bijan Robinson, he's a Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley type. If if you're looking at what Saquon Barkley got, he had, like I said, he only signed a 2-year deal for 41 million. His average salary is 20.6. He got 36 million guaranteed at signing, right? That's the key, right? So they pretty much gave it to him all up front, and he got 36 million guaranteed. So he got all his money, all his guarantees right up front when he signed his contract. Um, so his cap hit probably is not that much at all, because he got all his money up front. That's how you lower the cap number. People want to know how the Philadelphia Eagles can keep all these guys on. Well, one reason they drafted well, right? Because they still got a lot of guys on their rookie contracts. But at the same time, they're able to structure these contracts where they could lower the cap number and keep building their team the right way. Um, they got Jalen Hurts on a nice contract, right? He got paid, Super Bowl winning quarterback. He's going to get what he's due. But Saquon Barkley and Chris McCaffrey is Bijan's comp, and I imagine Bijan will get over 20 million. If he get $21 million, he will be the highest paid running back in the league. And at this point in time, I don't think anybody could argue with Bijan Robinson being the high paid running back in the league. Right? It's close. It's really close between him and Christian McCaffrey. But what Bijan was able to do, All Pro, 2,300, scrimmage yards last year, man, you got to tip your hat off to what Bijan was able to do. So this is really, really good for Bijan, and that's what I would go with. That's his market value, 18.9. Saquon sitting at 20. I see Bijan come out 20 by 21 million, right? So now you see why I wanted to go ahead and restructure the contracts, because you're looking at Drake and Bijan, but now you got those guys out of the way. You got your two of your cornerstone players out the way, right? And now you could go and get some more guys. I didn't talk about the free agents yet. We'll get into one free agent in just a minute, but you still got to sign some of your own free agents back, right? Some of your key guys, right? K. Nellis. You really got to think about David Omiyata, right? He was productive last year. I believe he really was. He was really good last year. Bradley Pinion, you got to bring back your punter, right? That's a nice cheap contract, but he's one of the best punters in the league. You bring him back as well. So you have signed some of your D. Alford. We talked about him. Do you want to bring him back? We don't know Billy Bowman when he's going to be ready to get back in the slot, right? So these are some of the things that the Atlanta Falcons need to be thinking about. And we're definitely going to hear from Ian Cunningham tomorrow. All right, guys, the last guy we're going to talk about is Kyle Pitts, right? So now we're talking about free agency. We talk about Kyle Pitts, right? Now we talked about this. Now they can franchise Kyle Pitts. Right now, Kyle Pitts market value is 10.8. That's not right. I'm just being honest with you. That is incorrect. I don't know why they got him his market value at 10.8 million, right? He's going to get more than that. He's the top tight end in free agency. And if you look at his comps, they got him comp right now with guys like Jonnu Smith, Tyler Higbee, and Jake Ferguson. I think a more accurate comp for Kyle Pitts would be Trey McBride from Arizona. I think his comp is more where Kyle Pitts range of money he's going to be looking for, right? So if they was the franchise tag him, it would be about $17 million. Don't know how that changed with the cap going up 20 million, so I don't know how that affects the franchise tag, if it affects it at all. I don't know that. But if you look at Trey McBride, he signed a contract for 4 years, $76 million. His average salary is $19 million, right? That's where I think Kyle Pitts' range is going to be, around that mark, right? So if you're looking at, Kyle Pitts, And if you look at what I just talked about, the cap's going up. It's a lot of teams that has a lot of money. So I think the smartest thing for Atlanta Falcons to do is the franchise tag Kyle Pitts. I mean, that way you eliminate teams overbidding you. Because if you let Kyle Pitts get to the market, he's gone. He's simply gone. And you've been a little selfish, I know, because he can get paid more than what you know, thinking about paying him. But, you know, I don't think you should let your investment go with Kyle Pitts. So, in my opinion, personally, they should franchise tag him. And, if they can't come up with a deal, you do a trade, right? So you can get some draft capital. That's the way I would do it. I would not let Kyle Pitts go for nothing. That's just me, right? With all these restructures, that $16 million franchise tag hold won't hurt the Falcons. They still be able to do some things they need to do, but hopefully you get a deal done. If you can't get a deal done, go ahead and do a trade with Kyle Pitts. Get some more draft capital. That way you can maybe go into the draft. They have some solid tight ends coming out in the draft, and maybe they could snag a young tight end, you know, that's more suited for what Kevin Stefanski want to do. Somebody got both traits, blocking and pass catch. My opinion, I think Kyle Pitts is what they need. I think the Atlanta Falcons should keep him. I think he's um, has not been utilized correctly within this offense for years. And if they could get a guy who loves tight ends, know how to use him, right? If you look at what he was able to do with Harold Fanning this year, I think he can do some of the similar things with Kyle Pitts because he's just a mismatch nightmare. And for me, I would want to keep Kyle Pitts. That's just my opinion. I know a lot of people thinking he's done. He's going to get paid. And he is going to get paid. If you let him go free agency, he's gone. Tennessee Titans need pass catchers. They're going to throw some money at him. The Jets need pass catchers. It's a lot of teams that need pass catchers. So if you let Kyle Pitts go free agency, he's gone. And we don't know, what they feel about him, right? Nobody drafted him here. We do know Matt Ryan has, experience. He played with him, so he knows more better than anybody what Kyle Pitts is capable of. But we don't know if they want to use, that resource to go get Kyle Pitts or use it on something else. And that's what we'll have to find out. We do know they want to be a physical team, so maybe they want to use it on the trenches and reallocate those resources somewhere else. And then, like I said, go in their draft. They definitely could. He could come in and sign David Njoku, right? David Njoku is sitting at about $10 to $8 million. That lower than what you'll have to pay Kyle Pitts, somebody who's familiar with Kevin Stefanski. He's going to be a free agent, right? He's more traditional tight end than Kyle Pitts. So you could use David Njoku. If you look at his numbers, they definitely went down this past season. Of course, Harold Fanning, the way he was able to do, outshined everything. So that's one of the reasons I would say that. But for me, I think Kyle Pitts is got potential to be a superstar. I really do. I mean, just he shows so many flashes. It hasn't been consistent. I get it, but when you had to deliver, your contract year, he was a second team All Pro. So, man, he's probably he since the cap is so high and a lot of these teams got this money. If you let him go, he's gonna get overpaid. It's just that simple. So if I was Atlanta Falcons, I franchise tag him and try to at least try to trade him at the most and try to get something out of it. Right? You got to utilize what you got. If you can't sign him to a deal, franchise tag him and try to trade him. That's what I would do. T. Terry said Pitts is not the money. They are saying that the Falcons are drafting a tight end, Eli Stower from Vandy. In the second, the guy is amazing. Yeah, like I said, that could be the route they go, right? So, honestly, I got PTSD with the Falcons, man. I'll just be honest with you. Because when we have guys here that we let go, and then they go somewhere. And I probably going back older school than new stuff. Because lately, most guys we let go, whatever. But I mean, we let Deion Sanders get out of here. We didn't even offer him a contract, right? Everybody's talking about he was here for 5 years and he didn't stay. But the Atlanta Falcons did not offer him a contract. That's why he left, right? Um, they let Brett Favre go, right? Hall of Famer quarterback. Um, man, I just, I just don't want Kyle Pitts to go out and have a all Hall of Fame career after he leave the Falcons, yeah, because he has the traits, the potential. I mean, the guy runs a 4.46. He's a mismatch, man. Um, so that's what I'm saying. I just think he's not being utilized correctly, and some over his fault the way he ran routes and things like that. But um, personally, I'm a little nervous if you don't keep him. So then they might decide to do that. A lot of people thinking that he's going to get our price. If they let him go free agency, he is not coming back. So we do know that. That's 100%. If Kyle Pitts go free agency, he's gone. Somebody's going to pay him. And that's generation of money for him. So he needs to go get his money. So I'm not mad at him for doing that. So I mean, you know, power to him. What you're going to get. So man, that's what I do like about going down this route. It's a fresh start for Atlanta Falcons. It's not tainted by past decisions and things like that. These guys, you know, they can put in a letter like, I had nothing to do with none of this. Right? We just get here. So everything you guys did in the past has nothing to do with me. I'm trying to fix it. So that's what I'm trying to say. So if they don't want to keep Kyle Pitts, they can say, I didn't draft him number 4 overall. So it ain't no skin off my back if we let him out the door because I didn't draft him number 4 overall. They can say that, right? Um, they didn't draft Michael Penix, so they don't have to have ties to him either, right? Now the smart thing is to try to use Michael Penix because that contract is what you want when you're trying to build a team. You want a quarterback on the rookie deal and try to build around him because that's the easiest way to build your team up and have a lot of success. Because once you have to pay the quarterback, that's when everything started to go down. And some of these guys, quarterbacks that you pay them all that money, can't do it. They can't put the Superman cape on like a Josh Allen, like and get things done, right? They need help around them. You look at what Sam Darnold is able to do, but he has a really, really good team around him. You look at Drake May, what he's able to do. Mike Vrabel put a really good team around him, right? Those guys are not, you know, superstar players, right? They're decent. They're good players, but they're not superstars. And that's the blueprint, for me, for the Atlanta Falcons is to have a quarterback who's not going to make mistakes, not going to turn over the ball, but don't have to be Superman and do everything, right? So if they decide not to keep Kyle Pitts, I understand that as well too. But guys, those are some of the decisions Atlanta Falcons need to make for our roster moves. The restructures of those 3 guys. Um, you might want to take Jake Matthews out and add Jesse Bates to that list because I had Jake Matthews as a restructure, but maybe since he's getting older, you don't want to restructure him. You restructure Jesse Bates instead, right? Jesse Bates, Chris Lindstrom, and AJ Terrell. I think all those guys are safe bet to restructure. Add that cap space in, you go ahead and you'll decide to um, re-sign Drake London. You re-sign Bijan Robinson. Um, we're going to not talk about Kyle Pitts because we might not be able to go there. But K Nellis is definitely somebody that they can look at. K Nellis, Bradley Payne, the punter, they got to bring him back. David Amiyata, like I said, I didn't realize David Yada had the season he had, right? Um, his market value is on 8.6 million, so that's not bad, right? But he had 63 tackles, man, last year inside. Now they need to put a big boy beside him, 100%. They need to do that. But I do believe that what they need to do is really um, decide to look at the you know 4 or 5 free agents that they got. They're not keeping all 18 of those guys, but between those 4 or 5 free agents that they got, they really need to do that. So, but for me personally, with that cap, right? So I'm going to recap it real quick. Like I said, the new projected cap is going to be between 300, 301 to $305 million. That's 20 $20 million more than it was last season, right? $100 million than it was in 2022. So the NFL is thriving. It really is, right? They making money, right? That new CBA gonna be something serious when they still do that because some players gonna have some stuff to say. But they're making money, man. They're doing their thing. You like that? Like I said, the current cap right now is it's sitting at 279. Um, that's a big jump. So that 20 million, over $20 million, $21 million that the Atlanta that each team, not just Atlanta Falcons, going to be able to have. Um, Atlanta Falcons current cap is sitting at 27 million. Um, they do their restructures with Kirk Cousins, Jake Matthews, Chris Lindstroms, AJ Terrell. That would put them with that $20 million boost at 82 million. So, right, that's where the Atlanta Falcons be sitting at, man. Whew, that's nice, right? That'll put them at 82 million. That's if they decide to restructure. If they don't decide to restructure and they just take that $20 million bump, that'll put them back by 49 to $50 million. They still allow them to do some of the things they need to do. The main two things they need to make sure they do is sign Drake London. His market value is sitting at 32.7. You just pay him a little bit more than Garrett Wilson got paid. I think you can get that done. Bijan Robinson sitting at 18.9. You're going to pay him a little bit more than Saquon Barkley, which is sitting at 20. So you probably pay Bijan 21. I think you can get that done. And if you decide to go with Kyle Pitts, this is too low. Like I said, Trey McBride sitting at 19 million. So Kyle Pitts is more than this 10.8 they got him sitting at his value. Right now they got him his comp with guys like Jonnu Smith. He's a better tight end than that. So his value is probably going to end up being like 19 $20 million. Some team is going to pay him. Might not be Atlanta Falcons, but somebody's going to pay him that value. Just telling you. And if they decide to let him go to free agency, he's gone. He will definitely not be um, playing with the Atlanta Falcons if he go free agency. They franchise tag him, that's a different story. But if they decide to let him walk, he's gone, and we'll be like, bye, Kyle Pitts, right? Um, Tune in tomorrow because what I want to talk about tomorrow, once we hear what our general manager has to say, we're gonna look at some real. We really gonna look at some free agents. That's what I want to do. Um, that's what I really want to do. Look at the free agents out there, and we'll go look at the top 100 free agents. It's some free agents. It's gonna be some free agents that gonna get cut. So this is not the real list because a lot of some of these guys gonna get cut and stuff like that. So it's gonna be add even more guys to the pot. But we'll look at the ones that's designated to be a free agent right now. Um, Almost said, do you have a favorite Falcons uniform? Yes, I do. And this the one that they wear on primetime games. That red helmet, that black jersey. in that white. And I just and they win in those, man. They win on those, especially in prime time. So yes, that's my favorite uniform for the Atlanta Falcons. I do like that gray. I don't know if you guys seen the it's a photo going around with the red helmet, the black, and the gray pants. I like that as well. I really like that one. That's one of my favorite ones too. If they do that, um, they're going to have new uniforms this year. So if you didn't know that, the Atlanta Falcons will have new uniforms. They're supposed to show them in April, so be on the lookout for that. We'll definitely talk about that. Um, but and people think it's time, but maybe they need to just go back to some of their old school uniforms, man. Because I like that gray. I definitely like the red helmets. They definitely need to keep the red helmets and unretire those, right? Because they bring them out every now and then, but I think they need to just make that part of the uniform. That red helmet is nice. It really is. And like I said, when Atlanta Falcons put that red helmet on, it means something. It kind of reminds me of when the Lakers put on the Mamba jerseys, right? Those black and gold Mamba jerseys, for Kobe Bryant, and it just like they play different, right? And that's what it seems like when the Falcons put that red helmet on. Man, they hard to beat. They really hard to beat when they put that red helmet on, and especially in prime time. Matter of fact, man, Atlanta Falcons should play all their games at prime time because they really play well in prime time. They do. So, um, and that's throughout the years they've been playing really well in prime time. You go look at their last their record in prime time. It's really impressive. So maybe they need to play more games in prime time. All right. But there you have it, guys. That's the news of the day. I told you we was gonna do a little math, um, and kind of get the projections. Now, I'm not a capologist, so my numbers might be off by some millions, right? But 4 or 5 million, but I'm close because I'm just looking at what the cap sheet says right now, projections and things like that. But I am close um, to what the Atlanta Falcons potentially going to have. Now, will the Atlanta Falcons decide to restructure all those guys? Probably not, because you only do that when you really need some cap space. Like if you're trying to get out the red and things like that. The Atlanta Falcons will have that issue, especially with that $20 million bump, right? They already at 27 million. That 2.1 that they're gonna get from Kurt, that'll put them like at 50 million right there. Maybe that they say that's all the cap space they need to do what they need to do. $50 million, right? And if that's the case, that's fine. But we want to make sure they get what they need to get done, especially if they decide to go ahead and re-sign Drake London. We'll drop his cap number, from that 16 million down. You re-sign Bijan, drop his cap number from that 8 down. So they have the ability, you know, if they just re-sign guys as well to add to the cap. So they might not have to restructure anybody, but it's just an option that they can have. If they want to target, a specific free agent that they think could be um, the one that take them over the hump, and they say we're going to restructure so we can actually go out and get this guy, right? Um, right now, I can't think of somebody. Like I said, I'm gonna have to go look at the free agents and see who they should, take a take a gamble like that on to restructure all these contracts and pay this guy this big money. I don't know if it's a free agent like that out there this year, and if it is, we just have to find out who that is. But you know, I think the biggest thing is to build your depth, right? You build your depth up, right? Because injuries happen in NFL. So when somebody goes down, we saw what happened when Divine Diablo went down. The defense looked totally different, looked completely different, and it really hurt them in the Falcons. So that's not what we want to see. All right, but guys, we have been talking for an hour, and like I said, I did a lot of math. I know you guys got to go look and contemplate about the numbers. Um, but what I really want to know from you guys today is, would you make those moves that's been reported, those restructures for those three guys? Would you go ahead and lock up Drake and Bijan like that? And really, what do you think about keeping Kyle Pitts? Do you think they should just let him go and go in the draft and try to find another tight end that's more suitable for what they want to do? Those are the questions that needs to be asked. T. Terry says, I really like the Matt Ryan running the Falcons, making people feel yep, yeah, man. Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. Man. Because, one reason I like it because it feel like it's his, what I'm saying? It feel like he's not just doing it for a job. He really wants the Falcons to win. So he's going to put his heart and soul into it. And that's why you bring former players back because Matt Ryan, this is, this has been his home. It is home now. Um, he's invested. And so he's not going to, you know, put his all into it. And that's what I like about it. So I do agree. You said the Chiefs won Pitts bad. Yes, man. Honestly, all the fits, that would be the perfect fit for Kyle Pitts. You pair him with Patrick Mahomes, I'll be mad because man, they're gonna be scary. But yes, that's my fit. I heard the Titans want him too though. So if he goes to the AFC, that's fine. That's fine. But don't go to the NFC team. Some stupid people like Tampa, and he better not go to the Inks or the Bucks. I really be pissed off about that. And guess what? The Atlanta Falcons got more cap space from both of those. So if they can pay him, we can pay him. So that's I'm saying. The Eagles are saying they'll give us Dallas Goddard for picks. We don't want no Dallas Goddard, man. We don't want Dallas Goddard. I'd rather go in the draft and get the kid that T. Terry was talking about earlier. What is his name? Eli Stower from Vandy. Yeah, we'll get him. We'll take that guy. I might say you would get Pitts Max. Me too. For me, I want Pitts back. I think he has the potential to really be good. So I really want Pitts to come back, but um, we'll just have to see. We'll just see. I think that the Falcons do have the means. Like I said, people don't realize when the quarterback is not taking up 25% of your cap, you can make moves that you want to make. So that's what I'm talking about. Darmar said Pitts often looks like the best player on the field in times. Yeah, he does, man. That's what I'm saying. He was number 4 overall pick, and you see the athletic ability comes out. It's not consistent enough, and that's what we want. That's why people because you want the consistency of because he is a specimen, man. I mean, his athletic traits. That's why he went number 4 overall because of the things he's able to do, right? And and he has shown flashes of that. We just ain't seen it consistently enough. So that's what we want to see from Kyle Pitts. More consistency. And like I said, maybe because he's not being used correctly. I mean, when you get running an offense and you got him as your third read, maybe he should be your first read in some plays, man. And if you start to treat him like that, like he's the number one guy, um, like the Broncos treated Shannon Sharp, like the Kansas City Chiefs and the Atlanta Falcons treated Tony Gonzalez. You know how the Chargers treated Antonio Gates, right? Those what I'm talking about. Those players. How the 49ers treat George Kittle. How the Arizona Cardinals treat Trey McBride. How the Raiders treat Brock Bowers, right? That's what I'm talking about. That's how Kyle Pitts. He was like an afterthought, being a number 4 overall pick. It seemed like he wasn't the first or second read on a lot of plays, and I think that might change up on the Kevin Stefanski. So that's where it is. But guys, I'm about to get up out of here. Thank you guys for tuning in today. Please tune in tomorrow. We'll talk about what we heard from our new general manager, Ian Cunningham, and we'll go look at some free agents that's out there that the Atlanta Falcons could potentially bring in with all this newfound cap space that they got. This is your boy Ricondo coming back at you with another video. Peace.